part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Well, Ulises, it is a Monday, which, at least for the last little bit, we've been changing things up a little bit with Mailbag Monday action, and we thought before the season we'd continue that segment today. We've got a lot to discuss, but first, we always get great questions from Darren Hybert, and we have another one here that we'll bring up and get right into it. He says, I have a trade idea based on the fact that it seems the Twins are trading for players and then flipping them. We need more offensive production from first base and some right-handed pop in the lineup. Trade for Gary Sanchez. He's proven to be a subpar catcher on a good day, and I think his defensive woes, along with the New York City pressure, got in his head. Put him at first base in a low-pressure environment, and let's start watching some 450-foot dingers start sailing over the left field wall in Tropicana Field. Trade some prospect I've never heard of, and let's get it done before his value goes back up in Minnesota. You heard it here first. Thanks for the show.
Well, thank you, Darren, for being a loyal listener and for always giving us really good content and questions and suggestions. First of all, great thinking outside the box. This is a good, commendable question because outside the box, I would have never in a million years come up with this on my own. I just, completely disinterested, to be quite frank. So good on you for thinking outside the box, Darren. Like I just said, I'm disinterested. Let's start with that.
You don't want Gary Sanchez in a Rays uniform? What? You don't want him in a Rays uniform?
I do not want Gary Sanchez in a Rays uniform, but
he didn't impress you enough when he was in a Yankees uniform?
Let's red team this though. Okay. Let's get in the heads of why this would be a good idea. Number one, when you are averaging as a catcher and all that it takes, that toll on your knees and your body and all that mental capacity, and you're still putting up on average 23 home runs every season. Okay. That's impressive. That's really good. So if you're putting somebody not in that position, you could expect that number to go higher, right?
Right.
So what? You're now talking a power hitter that gives you 27 to 30 bombs. That's attractive. Another thing, which is like Darren said, the high pressure environment. I think it would be foolish for any baseball fan to think that Gary Sanchez would be as wide known as a name and as controversial as a player if he hadn't been wearing pinstripes since the beginning. So if he had been in Minnesota since 2016, 17, whenever he made his debut, and now had gotten traded to the Yankees, people are like, oh, who is this Gary Sanchez? Even though he had put up the same amount of pop with the bat and honestly below average defense.
Right.
It's New York that makes this big ass spotlight on Gary Sanchez. I'm red teaming this, and I think that's a fair argument.
So you believe that he's an overrated ball player?
I think he not only is not. Oh, I think
his name recognition brings more than he provides as a ball player.
I think so. I think his name is way too well known.
Yeah.
And that's not only because of his positive. I'm not saying like
it's what he did half a dozen years ago.
No. I'm just saying that his positives are known because he's a Yankee, and his negatives are extra known because he's a Yankee. Everything that is Gary Sanchez is known because he was a Yankee. I'm telling you, if he was a Minnesota Twins for a Minnesota Twin from 2016 until today, not a lot of baseball fans would know him as much as they know him because he's a Yankee.
Could you imagine if he was in a Royals uniform or a
My
Tigers uniform?
It would be completely different. People wouldn't know about his deficiencies, the deficiencies defensively.
Yeah.
Say that 5 times fast.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'll give you my take on this, but first, we've got to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your sport betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, including this week's Masters Championships odds, podcast, and reviews for all the different leagues this season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. So head over to their website or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. So really good points there, Ulises. Let me just say this about Gary Sanchez and the Twins. The Twins traded for him less than a month ago, correct? So would they really flip him?
No.
I know this is a completely hypothetical trade, which I understand. And they also gave up Josh Donaldson to acquire Gary Sanchez among other players. So, that's not happening from that perspective. I do agree with you on being outside of the New York market should really help most any player with the pressure and the stress and all the attention goes off of you a little bit, and that makes things a little bit easier to perform. Now, what Darren mentioned in his email is, hey, let's just stick Gary Sanchez at first. Is there a guarantee that Gary Sanchez would be able to handle first? I don't know if that's a given.
I can tell you he has worn a first baseman mitt, but can you guess for how many innings, Kevin, in his big league career?
Probably a half dozen.
Even less, 3 innings.
Okay.
And that came in 2017.
Yeah.
So, Darren, I like the going outside the box for something. And that's exactly what we need to do as fans and try to, pinpoint little things. But again, 3 innings at first base. I would honestly, I'm still on Team Ulises and Team Kevin. Either put Brandon Lau at first or put Austin Meadows at first to keep those 2 bats that you already know how they're going to produce.
Well, I think we're also going to see some Harold Ramirez at first base. And
I
that's
think
the thing.
so too.
I wouldn't be surprised if you give Harold Ramirez as many at-bats as Gary Sanchez. I would venture to say that Harold Ramirez would probably put up relatively similar numbers, or at least give you somewhat similar production for 1/10 of the cost, 1/12, 1/15 of the cost. Let's also remember this: Gary Sanchez is making $7.5 million this year.
Yeah,
Harold Ramirez is making what, $700K, and
he blasted one the other day too. I mean, just, I know spring training, but Harold Ramirez, and just a blast. It was a nice, pretty swing.
No, he hits the ball extremely, extremely hard. It's just about lifting it up a little bit more. I just think that the Rays are so much better off with, all right, we'll roll the dice with Ramirez, Yonny Diaz, and G-Man platoon at first base rather than trying to go out and acquire Gary Sanchez. And I don't think, again, like you mentioned, there is this aura and this name recognition about Gary Sanchez. Let's also remember, again, several years ago, he was, the first catcher to get to the fastest catcher to get to 100 home runs, 2-time All-Star, Silver Slugger. That is in his past. That is in his background. Yeah. That does bring up his cachet a little bit. So this idea that you can give up, Cal Stevenson to get Gary Sanchez isn't going to happen. I would think it would take a somewhat recognizable prospect, which then Rays fans would come back and say, "Oh, why are you giving up so-and-so to get Gary Sanchez?" And that's the other thing too about Gary Sanchez. It's I feel like the Rays are going in a direction where they're trying to get more athletic, and you're not doing that by utilizing or getting Gary Sanchez, who
look, again, Mike Zunino is no fleet of foot here.
I know, but you don't want more than one. You don't want multiple Mike Zuninos.
Yes,
running
exactly.
the bases.
And it's not going to be a 1-for-1 because obviously you won Zunino because of the defense. And if you're sticking him at first and somebody else has got to go, and who is going to be slower than Gary Sanchez if it's not Zunino? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So
he's got a reputation. Now maybe it's changed, but he's got a reputation as, hey, just throw him a slider. He's going to swing and miss. He won't hustle down the line. There's things with Gary Sanchez that makes it, that to me says this is not a Rays player. This is not a player that the Rays would ever consider or go after in a million years, just from that perspective. And again, I looked up the numbers over the last 4 seasons. Of the 191 major league hitters who have collected 1,200 plate appearances, Gary Sanchez's 201 batting average ranks dead last, and his 299 on base percentage ranks 181st. And it's not like he's some lefty masher. Like, he's good against lefties, but it's not like he's a 950,000 OPS guy against lefties. I just don't see where he would fit into the equation.
Yeah,
at all with the Rays.
And again,
it's fun to talk about, but I'd rather roll the dice with Harold Ramirez and the other cast of characters rather than go after and try to acquire Gary Sanchez. I would be curious to see what it would take to get him, but I think the asking price would be so much more than what the numbers on the back of the baseball card say.
It took Lucius Fox to get Brett Phillips. And again, we love Brett Phillips. But it took Lucius Fox. What do you think is going to take Gary Sanchez? More
Top
than Lucius
15
Fox.
Prospect, probably.
More than Lucius Fox.
Yeah. And
at
Lucius
time,
Fox was
Lucius
a
Fox
top.
Exactly.
Wasn't he a top 5, top 10, top 15
I think
prospect?
He was definitely top 20. So, I mean, if you get a Brett Phillips in today's in this economy. Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, no. And again, thank you for thinking outside the box, Darren.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what we wanted. We want more of those hypotheticals.
Yeah, we also do want to mention this. He did throw out. Again, I'm not trying to hammer on Darren at all. It's just I just don't think Gary Sanchez is a Rays player. He also asked what we think the Rays will get from Yonny Chirinos this year.
Ooh, that's a really good question. I believe we should see him back on the mound late May. So what should we expect? Well, I think we should expect somebody who hopefully gives you 30 to 50 innings. That would be nice. 30 to 50 innings. And I say 30 to 50, I'm keeping it low. I'm being conservative here. Why? Because not only do I not want him to, I don't think they're going to be like, hey, here's the ball, kid. You're the starter. No, I think they're going to go back to 2018 and say, here's the ball in the second inning. Here's the ball in the third inning. Take us to the sixth. Yeah. And so that he's going to be a bulk guy again, which is great. I mean, you're just getting started back from Tommy John. So I think that's why the innings will be reduced. But I mean, hopefully, if we're talking numbers, dude, I just want him healthy. Yeah. Just no other setback. I don't care if the ERA is 5, because you can pay Waka and other dudes to give you a 5 ERA for way much more money than what Yonny Chirinos. Yonny Chirinos just needs development, getting that arm, some of that rust off it.
Yeah, because he fractured his elbow while recovering from TJS. There's reports that he won't be available until the second half of the season. Who knows about all that? It could be late May. It could be sometime after July. But we also have to keep into perspective that the Rays probably aren't going to try to rush him along, considering he missed all of 2021 and he pitched all of 11 innings in 2020. Yeah. So I wouldn't expect that Yonny Chirinos is going to be averaging 5 innings per outing or anything like this, anything like that, at least for this upcoming year. That brings up a good point, though. You mentioned maybe somewhere in the range of 30 to 50 innings. Who pitches more this season for the Rays, Yonny Chirinos or Tommy Romero?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I would almost go towards Romero.
I would go Tommy.
Yeah,
I would go Tommy.
Not saying his numbers will be better than Yonny Chirinos, but as far as
dependable, like, here's the ball. Who do the guy coming back from Tommy John, or the guy who's having a 2.40 ERA and 400 plus innings in minor leagues? So
God, it would be so nice, maybe 2023, to have vintage Yonny Chirinos of 130, 140 innings.
Man, that would be a game changer.
3.5 ERA, the fastball, the slider, the change. Like, he gets lost in the shuffle because of all the other names that we talked about. And again, he hasn't been available or been able to post in a while, but if he can come back and provide a little something, that really would be helpful to the Rays.
You're talking a rotate 2023. The 2022 season hasn't started, but let's talk about 2023 anyway, just for a little bit. You got Glass now coming back. You had a Shane Boss with a whole year. You have probably a Luis Patino, more veteran. You got a Shane McClanahan, more veteran. Luis Patino, Yonny Chirinos, Brendan McKay. Is he going to be healthy? I mean,
I would venture not, but sure.
But they're very interesting names. I mean, Tosh Bradley, is he knocking on the door in 2023? What if he does something really special this year? Which, I mean, if he dominates AAA, what else does he need to show in spring training to do to be a part of that 2023 rotation?
Heck, and going back to the Gary Sanchez conversation, that might be who the Twins would ask for. Is it Todd Bradley because they do need pitching help? They'd say, hey, give us Bradley, give us Seth Johnson, give us somebody of that ilk. And the Rays would probably say, no, we're not going to do that. But maybe what Yonny Chirinos needs to get back on track, maybe a Built Bar. It can't hurt, I would say.
I don't think it could ever hurt to get a Built Bar. So what you need to do is pick delicious flavors. That's number one. Okay, what do you feel like? But it doesn't matter what flavor you pick. They're going to be delicious because why? They're covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, you heard me right. Every Built Bar is covered in 100% real chocolate, and they're also healthy too. They're good for you. Most Built Bars have 130 to 180 calories. When you compare those to candy bars, any candy bar that has 200, 300 calories, the choice is rather smart, like maybe not putting Gary Sanchez behind the plate.
Yeah, that's always the best. As Blake Snell victoriously once said,
yes,
he's got a cannon. Gary Sanchez has a cannon, but can't block a beach ball.
A beach ball, the man said. Yeah. Listen to Snellzilla. So what you have to do is listen to us and go to Built.com. And when you go to Built.com and you pick all of your delicious flavors, because they're amazing, then you're going to use promo code LOCKED15. That promo code is going to get you 15% off on all of your order. So today, go to Built.com, choose all of your delicious flavors, then hit promo code LOCKED15. Get 15% off at Built.com.
Okay. We answered Darren's question or questions. Now, let's move on to a little fun thing we have here. Last night, we had our annual Locked On Rays. Well, it's our annual Locked On Rays Fantasy Baseball League. And we had, standing ovation. Let's do it. We had
third annual. By the way,
man, losing track of time.
I know.
Gosh, 3 years ago. It's like 30 years ago. Pandemic time.
Yeah.
Really ages you quick.
We're 63. Yeah.
Yeah. We had, who knows, it might be, depending on how all this shakes out. We had our draft last night. And despite ESPN servers crapping out on us, and I guess the rest of the drafting populace out there, we still managed to get through it. 20-team league.
Yeah.
20 players per team.
Yeah.
We paired and parsed down the categories. So it's not quite as extensive as it was last year. What do we have? About
36 last.
So now it's about cut in half there. Yeah. So it makes it more manageable from that perspective. It was fun, despite ESPN, again, not getting their stuff together. You would think after 15, 20 years of doing online drafts. And again, they've got a great look and presentation, but got to get the servers to work. I don't know what happens there, bud.
That's the important part. I'd take better servers than not a good display.
Yes, it wasn't me going in and trying to hack the system and trying to gerrymander the results, because I kind of got screwed because I didn't necessarily want to draft. Who
did ESPN draft for you? Because I also have a guy.
I think it was Bassett. I think that's who they nailed. Who, again, it could be worse players that they nail me with, but
I got screwed too.
Yeah, who'd you get?
Musgrove.
Okay.
I didn't want Musgrove. I know, and everybody on the chat was like, "Chill, he's gonna be good." I'm like,
but in round 5, do you really want him that early?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the thing. First off, Ulises, you might have had the most interesting selection of the entire draft.
My goodness. How come? I don't even know that. Why?
You took Wander Franco, number 3 overall. Number 3 overall.
I had one chip. I had one chip to play. There's 20 teams.
Yes.
So who's going to go before me? Soto? Ohtani?
Yes.
And then what? With 17 other Rays fans, I'm going to let my chance to get Wander Franco. Mm-hmm. Oh, heck no. I won all. Well, actually, the first and second pick can't get mad at me. They had their shot. So it's the 17 other people
Yeah.
that can get mad. I got Wander. I got him. El patrón es mío. I'm happy about it. I just call that a successful evening for myself.
Question.
Yes.
If you had the number 1 overall pick, would you have taken Wander Franco?
I had that thought, and I said no. I would go Ohtani.
Okay.
And honestly, I think it shook out the top 3 as you would expect in a Rays only fandom.
Yes.
Ohtani, everybody recognizes talent. Soto, everybody recognizes talent. And then Wander, everybody's a Rays fan.
Yeah. Is it like, are you going to take Vlad Guerrero? Or are you going to take Jose Ramirez? Then you get into more muddy waters. Ronald Acuna and Fernando Tatis coming off injuries, dealing with their own issues.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, if Wander Franco was still available at number 5,
yeah,
I would have taken Wander Franco. I was so aggravated at you that you took Wander. So my next question is, if you had the number 2 pick, and it was between Juan Soto and Wander Franco, say the number 1 still takes Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Would you have taken Wander, or would you have gone with Soto?
I would have. The server would have booted me out from not making a decision. Yeah, that's a tough decision. Because as a baseball fan, I'm like, duh, bro. Soto, come on. Are you kidding me? But the Rays fan in me is just like, I want Wander Franco on my team on a 20-team league with Rays fans.
Full season of Wander. The Rays gave him an extension for a reason. It's a little bit tougher to find shortstops of that caliber compared to outfielders.
Yes.
So you could find you can find a good outfielder around 10, 11.
Yeah.
That puts up really good numbers. Maybe not as good as Soto, but you can make it work one way or the other. So I am going to commend you on that, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Do you want to run through? Do you have your picks in front of you? You want to run through them quickly and share with the listeners? Go ahead.
Okay. So catching Salvi, first base Aguilar, second base I got Cronenworth. I feel pretty good about that one. Third base Eduardo Escobar, Wander Franco, shortstop Mitch Haniger, outfield Tommy Pham. I'm rolling the dice with Tommy Pham in that ballpark.
Yeah.
20 home
Tommy
runs.
Pham's rolling the dice on Tommy Pham. Heard some of his comments?
Yeah, this is true. Harrison Bader, outfield, Alejandro Kirk as my utility, Avi Garcia, and Garrett Cooper.
Okay.
And as my starters, I'll just give you my starters. Sandy Alcantara, Joe Musgrove. Oh, damn you, my ESPN server. Marcus Stroman, Alex Wood, and Drew Rasmussen.
Drew Rasmussen. You really trust him to be a starter?
Well, this is the thing. He was also tagged as a relief pitcher, and I was like, you know what? Okay. That would be helpful.
That's fair.
Yeah. How about you?
Speak of the devil, I got Gary Sanchez as my catcher, believe it or not.
Wow. This is fantastic. Yeah. We could not have
so I really hope he flips one on me.
Okay.
First base, Trey Mancini. Second base, Jose Altuve, your favorite.
Yep.
Third base, Jose Ramirez. Again, that was the 5th pick. That was really, I think, best player available. That's who I could really go with. Shortstop, Marcus Semien. Outfielders, Rays fans won't be happy. Alex Verdugo, Kike Hernandez, Mike Yastrzemski. Utility, Josh Donaldson. My bench is Andrew McCutchen and Jeremy Pena. Pena as a backup shortstop, perhaps. I might do some wiggling there. Pitchers, Max Fried, Aroldis Chapman, Chris Bassett, Yusei Kikuchi, Chad Green. Again, a lot of Yankees, a lot of AL East foes here. Liam Hendricks, Christian Javier, Eliezer Hernandez, and Brusdar Gratterall. Those are my 20 players.
Very nice.
I felt I had a really solid draft. Again, I never, it seemes like, when we do this league, I never wind up with any Rays players because the Rays players always get overdrafted. I agree with you. Look, if Wander was there at 5, that would have been my really only big reach. But it just, hey, I had a pretty good year in fantasy last year. I wasn't as good as Zach Dabb, but
nobody was as good as Zach Dabb. I came close. I came second, but who's keeping track of these things anyway?
Yes.
Well, you know what? Look at this. I got Jesus Luzardo too.
Yeah.
Cole Irvin and Colin Poche, friend of the program.
Yes.
I got our buddy, Colin Poche. So hopefully, man, I feel good about my draft too. I don't think it's a tremendous team. I feel like it's
well, again, it's a 20-team league.
Yeah.
20 players. It's not like every player is going to be a stud. This isn't a 10-team league where you're taking the best 12. Like, there have some depth.
Yeah. I think we did good with that. So we'll see, man. I mean, I was surprised Garrett Cooper was still available. I think I got him as one of my last picks.
Now, I will say this again. I could be totally wrong at this at the end of the year, but there were some head scratchers from not necessarily you or me, but from the listeners out there that participated in this draft.
Who are we putting on the spotlight here?
I've got about five people that I got to put on the spot.
Okay, guys, you signed up for this. Well, take it.
Part of the territory.
Who's number one?
Hey, you're playing in the big media market. That is the Locked On Rays
That's right.
Fantasy Baseball podcast. So you're about to feel like Gary Sanchez right now. Melissa Herrera taking Vidal Brujan in the 8th round.
8th round, Melissa.
57th overall.
Which one? What's 70th overall?
157th overall.
157th. That's bold. That's bold cotton.
Like who I took in the 8th round was Josh Donaldson, for comparison's sake.
Wow, she really believes
who
in
you took
Vidal.
in the 8th round was Drew Rasmussen.
Okay.
Austin Holloway taking Josh Lowe in the 12th, Hunter Green in the 13th, O'Neal Cruz in the 14th, and Bryson Stott in the 18th. Austin, this isn't a keeper league.
Wow.
This is not a keeper league. I know
really...
you love your prospects. Prospect hugger right here, Austin Holloway.
Why are you prospect hugging right here? I know.
Those are some reaches.
Well, no. O'Neal Cruz is going to be... He's
okay,
right
I
about
get that. But Josh Lowe in the 12th?
Josh Lowe in
Bryson
the 12th?
Stott?
Yeah.
I don't know what
When do you think Josh Lowe is going to get the call-up?
I mean, I don't know necessarily when he'll get the call-up. I just wonder about the playing time with so much of a glut.
A lot of traffic out there.
Austin Meadows hasn't been traded yet.
Yeah.
Kevin Kiermaier hasn't been traded yet.
I don't know.
Brett Phillips is on the roster still. So is Manny Margot.
Let's see how that plays out for Austin. Okay, who's next?
David Lopez.
Okay.
Taking Adley Rutschman in the 9th round.
Ooh. Okay.
Again, there's a lot. You look at who's available.
Yeah.
In the 9th round in that area. Again, Adley Rutschman, I think he had some sort of injury setback too. Not
right triceps.
Okay, not a major thing, but
yeah,
for him to there's other guys you should be.
People like their prospects.
That's true. That's true. I think it's you hear about a name, you keep hearing about it. You're like,
yes.
I also get it from this perspective. I want to jump in before somebody else does. I want to get in early. I want to get in early on Wander Franco.
I mean, honestly, I can't really talk. Last year, I literally did that with Wander Franco and Vidal Brujan.
Yeah.
I got both of them. Like, I don't know, in the 18th round or whatever it was.
And you held on to Vidal.
And I held on
a little bit too long. Wander ended up working out for you in the second half of the season.
Yeah, but I should have let it go of Vidal early and get somebody else.
Yeah. Zach Dabb taking Shane Baz in the 5th round. It's a little early.
It's a bit early. It's a bit early. And you know what sucked is that I wanted Shane for my team because my team name is
What is your team name? Because I don't want to get in trouble here. It's
at my team name.
Yeah.
And it's you will Baz my walls.
I have no idea what that means.
Well, it's a funny thing that you can say.
Is it a play on words?
Maybe, but you will Baz my walls.
Yeah, I don't want to touch that one. I don't want to touch your walls. Mine is slap blank prospect. I think we all know what that means.
Yes.
Just ask Blake Snell and Xavier Edwards about that one. Okay. Now this one takes the cake.
Okay. This is number one on the list?
I think this is number 1 on the list.
Okay. Hit me.
And again, we know Chase loves his players. Once he gets attached to a Rays player or players, it doesn't matter. He does not care. He throws the fantasy stuff out the window.
He does.
He's taking his dudes. He takes Chase. He takes Kevin Kiermaier in the 3rd round, Mike Zunino and Francisco Mejia and Brett Phillips in rounds 5, 6, and 7.
Now, I will burn Chase on Kevin Kiermaier because that is just a no-no in the 3rd round.
There's no defensive stats in this fantasy league. So there might have been last year, and even last year, that still wouldn't have been enough to make Kevin Kiermaier a 3rd round pick.
That's a no-no. But the other 2 picks, I unfortunately have to excuse Chase's behavior because even though we texted and DM'd people and said, hey, it's back online when all that server thing went down, Chase did not check his phone.
Oh, okay.
And so he just left it. And then later he was like, wait, what? It fixed? And we're like, yeah, it got fixed, man. So I will give him crap about KK in the 3rd round, but not everything else.
Not Brett Phillips in the 7th?
Well, it was already an automatic. He didn't.
So, but that means
he had queued. Yeah.
But so don't queue Brett Phillips that early.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So partially him and then partially ESPN Super servers.
Yeah.
Okay. One last thing. No, again, I think this is going to be a really blast of a fantasy baseball league. And again, whoever wins the league will be a guest co-host for an episode of the Locked On Rays podcast, like Zach Dabb was last year. I didn't really take a look at his team, but I'm sure he's got a decent one. I'm sure
he does.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be in the running for sure. He's a pretty smart guy. So, and again, say Ulises and I finish first or second, then the third place team that is a listener gets to be on the show. So basically the highest finishing listener of this league gets a part of it. Also, one last thing I do want to note, I want to give a shout out to Blake Hunt. I went to a spring training game.
Yeah.
Been to so many spring training games, more than I ever have in one season, I think. 3. It's crazy. Wow. When they tell you, hey, we only have 3 weeks of spring training, it's like, I better get to some games then and really enjoy it. Maybe the lockout made me really miss baseball, but getting a triple to deep center field on Saturday, that was very, very impressive for Mr. Blake Hunt, and should have talked to him after the game, but had to leave a little bit prematurely. Also, I will say my buddies Miller and Coors were occupying me a little bit, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But Blake, congratulations to you on that triple.
Nice, Blake.
Best of luck to you this season. Also, we saw other friends of the program, Greg Jones and Curtis Means. So there we go. Again, rising stars in the Rays organization. I wouldn't trade either one of those guys for Gary Sanchez, quite frankly.
No, no. Yeah, I would not. So I'll keep it that short.
Yes.
No, I would not.
Very good. All right. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you